America has a problem. It's a problem as old as the nation itself, a problem that festers in the halls of power. We call it the swamp. It's a place where money talks, where influence whispers in dark corners, where politicians trade favors like baseball cards. And in 2016, a man emerged promising to slay the swamp monster. "Drain the swamp," he roared. The crowds went wild. They were tired of the same old politicians, the same backroom deals, the same stench of corruption. He promised something different. He promised to be their champion, to fight the monsters in Washington. But as with most fairy tales, the truth was far more complicated. Fast forward to 2024. The swamp hasn't been drained. If anything, it's overflowing. The very people Trump vowed to banish are now running his campaign. Lobbyists, those masters of persuasion, have infiltrated his inner circle. They whisper in his ear, offering advice, donations, and access. And what do they get in return? Influence, power, and a whole lot of profit. Let's talk specifics, shall we? We've got vaping lobbyists ensuring their clients can keep hooking your kids on nicotine. We've got TikTok lobbyists fighting tooth and nail to keep their Chinese-owned app on your phones. And let's not forget the foreign interests lining up to curry favor with the man who could be president. The swamp is a buffet and everyone's invited. Section 5, the swamp grows deeper. Don't just take my word for it. The numbers speak for themselves. During Trump's presidency, lobbying spending exploded. It's like they say, if you build a swamp, they will come. And come they did, with wallets open and palms greased. The swamp wasn't drained, it was fertilized. Section 6, a chorus of critics rises. In recent times, the political landscape has been rife with discontent and vocal opposition. The streets are filled with demonstrators, their voices echoing through the air, demanding change and accountability. The signs they hold high are not just pieces of cardboard, but symbols of their frustration and hope for a better future. This is not draining the swamp, says Robert Weissman, president of Public Citizen. His words resonate with many who feel that the promises of reform have been nothing more than empty rhetoric. Weissman, a longtime advocate for transparency and ethical governance, has seen administrations come and go, but the core issues remain stubbornly persistent. This is stocking it with even bigger, more dangerous alligators. And he's not alone. The imagery of the swamp teeming with alligators serves as a powerful metaphor for the entrenched interests and corrupt practices that continue to plague the system. Political figures with their serious expressions seem to acknowledge the gravity of the situation, yet meaningful action remains elusive. Critics from across the political spectrum sound the alarm. From left to right, voices of dissent are growing louder. Panels of experts dissect the issues, debating the nuances and implications of current policies. The diversity of opinions underscores a common thread, a deep-seated concern for the direction in which the country is heading. They see the same old patterns of corruption, the same faces embroiled in scandal after scandal. News footage reveals the underbelly of political life, where power and influence often overshadow integrity and public service. Government buildings, once symbols of democracy and justice, now stand as backdrops to protests and public outcry. The same disregard for ethics, as ethics committees convene to address breaches of conduct. Courtrooms become arenas where the powerful are held to account, yet the outcomes often leave the public disillusioned. Politicians, dodging questions from relentless reporters, seem to evade responsibility, further eroding trust in the system. The same prioritization of profit over people. In boardrooms, corporate executives make decisions that prioritize the bottom line, often at the expense of the common good. The stark contrast between luxury and poverty becomes ever more apparent, highlighting the growing divide between the haves and the have-nots. This chorus of critics, united in their call for change, reflects a society at a crossroads, yearning for a future where justice and equity prevail. Section 7, Profits over Promises. In the grand theatre of American politics, promises are often made with fervour and conviction. But what happens when those promises are overshadowed by the pursuit of personal gain? What happened to the man who promised to fight for the little guy? The man who stood before crowds, vowing to be the champion of the forgotten and the downtrodden? He shook hands with factory workers, looked them in the eye, and assured them that their struggles were his struggles. The one who swore to stand up to the special interests. The one who declared war on the entrenched powers that be, promising to dismantle the influence of lobbyists and corporate giants. He stood at press conferences, boldly proclaiming that the days of backroom deals and political favors were over. It seems the swamp has a way of changing people. Washington, D.C., with its murky waters and shadowy corridors, has a reputation for swallowing even the most well-intentioned. The dark clouds over Capitol Hill serve as a metaphor for the murky ethics and shifting loyalties that define the political landscape. Or maybe it just reveals their true nature. Perhaps the allure of power and wealth simply brings out what was always there. In luxurious settings, surrounded by wealthy donors, the true priorities become clear. The promises made to the common man fade into the background, replaced by the glittering allure of personal enrichment. Either way, the promise of draining the swamp has been replaced by the reality of personal enrichment. The grand vision of a government free from corruption and self-interest has given way to a stark reality. Trump Tower, once a symbol of ambition and success, now stands as a testament to the prioritization of profits over promises. Documents are signed, deals are made, and the cycle continues. The little guy, once the focal point of grand speeches and heartfelt promises, is left to wonder where it all went wrong. The swamp remains, perhaps deeper and murkier than ever before, as the pursuit of personal gain takes precedence over the collective good. The legacy of Trump's "drain the swamp" promise is one of irony and disappointment. He campaigned as an outsider, but he governed like the ultimate insider. He promised to clean up Washington, but he left it dirtier than ever. And the American people are left to deal with the consequences. Section 9. The illusion of change. The swamp is a powerful force. It's resistant to change, it thrives on secrecy and deception, and it's very good at making people believe things are different, even when they're not. Trump's promise to drain the swamp was a masterful illusion, one that captivated millions. But like all illusions, it eventually faded, revealing the harsh reality beneath. Section 10. The price of broken trust. The real tragedy of the swamp is not just the corruption itself, but the erosion of trust it creates. When people lose faith in their government, when they believe the system is rigged against them, it undermines the very fabric of democracy, and that's a price we can't afford to pay. Section 11. Can the swamp be drained? Is there any hope? Can the swamp ever be truly drained? It's a daunting task, to be sure. But it's not impossible. It requires transparency, accountability, and a commitment to putting the public good above private gain. It requires electing leaders who are willing to challenge the status quo even when it's uncomfortable. Section 12. A call to action. This is a moment that calls for our collective courage and determination. We stand at a crossroads where the decisions we make today will shape the future of our nation for generations to come. The fight against the swamp is a fight for the soul of America. It is a battle that transcends political parties and ideologies. It is about the very essence of who we are as a people and what we stand for as a nation. It's a fight we must all engage in, regardless of our political affiliation. Whether you are a Democrat, Republican, Independent, or belong to any other political group, this is a call to action for every American. We must come together, united in our resolve to bring about meaningful change. We must demand better from our leaders. It is not enough to simply cast our votes and hope for the best. We must actively participate in the democratic process, attend town hall meetings, engage in discussions, and hold our elected officials accountable. Our voices must be heard loud and clear. We must hold them accountable for their actions. When our leaders fail to uphold the principles of justice, integrity, and transparency, it is our duty to call them out. We must demand answers, seek the truth, and ensure that those in power are working for the people, not for their own interests, and we must never stop believing that a better future is possible. Our hope and optimism are the driving forces that will propel us forward. We must instill these values in our children, teaching them the importance of civic engagement and the power of their voices. Together we can build a brighter future for all, because if we don't drain the swamp will drown us all. The corruption and complacency that have taken root in our political system threaten to undermine the very foundations of our democracy. We must act now with urgency and determination to reclaim our government and restore faith in our institutions. This is our call to action, and we must answer it with unwavering resolve.